Hey, it's me. Earl Bud Lee is a songwriter and sometimes a live performer. He wrote songs that were recorded by Loretta Lynn, Blake Shelton, Joe Cocker, Bandy, George Strait. But Earl Bud Lee's most successful song, Friends in Low Places, was recorded by Garth Brooks, and it's become a country music anthem. So thanks so much for making the time to join us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing just dandy, and thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Tell us a little bit about your early days. What was the music that you grew up hearing?
Well, my mother used to put me to bed with Mantovani and Henry Mancini and lots and lots of long hair, and then wake me up in the morning with bluegrass, Flat and Scruggs. And everything in between. My earliest influence, what I gravitated toward, I always enjoyed Nat King Cole and Tony Bennett, Frank Sinatra and such, but my ear really went toward country when I heard Ernest Tubb had a show when I was a child, and then from there it was a Jimmy Dean show, and from there it was, I do believe, the Everly Brothers. And then it was the Smothers Brothers, it was Glenn Campbell, and so forth. I grew up listening to Tootle Clark. I listened to the Beatles, and they took me a little while to get onto. But basically, I grew up listening to all kinds of music, and I just love all of it.
It is a lot of variety. So what is it about country music in particular that has caused you to gravitate towards it?
It was probably the storytelling. Most of the songs had really good melodies and really strong stories. And probably as a storyteller, I enjoyed that most. And I still enjoy when I'm writing. I like to tell the story.
And music, you could say, is more or less in your blood.
It is. It is. It goes all the way back. My grandfather on both sides of my daddy's family and my mama's family all were musically inclined. And my father, of course, he passed away at the young age of 21. He'd been to a New Year's Eve gig, played, and on his way home hit black ice and spun out. And left me a music room, which I was pretty much forbidden to go into. They wanted me, my mother especially, they wanted me to get a good education and not have music as my main theme. And I went on to school and on to college. Music always pulled me, and I ended up in Nashville and writing songs about 39 years ago. That's been a long time. It seems like just yesterday. And so much has changed in our landscape around here. The environment is different, but there are still a handful of really good country writers who really love the old time storytelling and good melodies.
So you're from Ohio originally?
Born in Orville, Ohio, the home of Smucker's Jelly. The same year Smucker's Jelly was born, I was born. And, was there, probably until I was somewhere around 2. And then my mother remarried when I was approaching 5, about 5 years old, and she married a naval officer, so it was off to see the world. We did a lot of traveling. A lot of good experience for a young boy, like a Huckleberry Finn type upbringing.
So tell me when you started to write.
Oh, I was noodling around with writing as a child. Little limericks, little poems. I started writing in earnest when I was about 12 and playing guitar. And any instrument I could get my hands on, really. And, well, like I said, I grew up with music and church and on like that. And I think one of the first things I remember was I'd gotten a B on something I decided that I should have had an A plus on. And when the teacher left the room, I wrote on the board, "Is this all or is there more? I think there is, but I can't be sure. Because when I ask, you say I'm poor to know not why and ask what for. Snake Eyes, son of Shakespeare. Kind of nuts."
So when you made the decision to go to Nashville, was that something that you were confident about?
Yeah. Yep. Secure in my being that that's what I was supposed to do. That was a gift. I continued working until somewhere around 83 or so. I left the profession I was working at and moved over to Christy Lane Music, gave me $50 a week to write songs, and I did that for a while. Then I moved over to Loretta Lynn. Now, Christy had cut 3 of my songs, recorded them, named the title of an album, and then Loretta Lynn, of course, recorded one. And I moved over from there to Ray Baker, who was producing Mo Bandy and Joe Stampley and Merle Haggard. And I moved over there. And from there, I ended up at Sony 3. Back in the day, it was 3 International. And wrote some songs over there. And then Mary Tyler Moore signed me to her company. And I wrote there for a while. And then I moved from there to Joe Bett, Motown. And they closed their doors somewhere around 84 or so. And then 85 maybe. And then from there, I just pretty much didn't re-sign with anyone. Pretty much just was independently writing with different companies. Then I went to work for Willie Nelson and Hank Cochran and Glenn Martin, all of them stellar writers. And of course, Willie being an artist, that was attractive to me. So I signed with that company for a couple of years. Told Willie ran into tax problems and he bailed out of the company. So the company pretty much, it didn't survive much after that. And from there, I went to Paris, France, and did Buffalo Bill's Wild West show for a number of months. And I really missed Music Row and Nashville and my family and all. So I came back and basically didn't write a lick for about 3 years. I did read everything I could get my hands on. Philosophy from the Greeks through the Renaissance, the history of the world, and the prehistory, the Bible, Dream of Reason, some of the Dancing Woolly Master about the string theory, and so forth. I just read everything I could get a hold of, and 3 years later, Who Are You When I'm Not Looking fell out. That went on to be recorded by Joe Nichols, and then Joe, I think, went into rehab and trying to straighten his life out somehow or other, and Blake Shelton got wind of it, and he recorded it, and he took it to #1. I started my own company back in 2000, and now we have some writers and artist writers. One of them, Don Pedigo, who is really showing a whole lot of character and coming forward in a good way, representing music. And he's from the Heartland, up in the John Mellencamp area. But he's a wonderful writer. He's someone you should all keep your eyes on, Don Pedigo. We just finished up a record on him with Ray Kennedy, who produces Steve Earle, and he's done some work with he just finished up Rodney Crowell. And we co-produced this thing on Don, and now we're real excited about this new project. And I am so very excited to have this project done so I can get back to writing.
Well, why do you write?
Wow, that's a good question. I mean, that might be as easy to answer as why do you breathe? It's just one of those, it's a gift. One of those things I thought I was totally whacked out of my mind at some point, but come to understand that this is good therapy for me. And I'm happy to be chosen to write these things. I really do believe it's a gift that we have to look for it. Of course, you don't read, you don't write. There's really not much to write about if you don't expand the mind. So reading is a real big part of it, right? Like reading, writing, and arithmetic, the things I learned in first grade. I still read a lot, and I still write a lot, and I still do the arithmetic. It all adds up. Surprisingly enough, everything's directly proportional to the other. So at this point, I've been in the studio so much, and I do enjoy all these facets of what I do. But for the most part, writing is where I get my real. Some people climb Mount Everest, and I write a song.
Can you remember the first time you heard a song that you wrote on the radio?
Yes, I can. And it was quite an eye-opener. Each time I hear a song on the radio, it's always like Randy Rogers and Alison Krauss recorded a song I wrote called Yonder. Look Out Yonder, they called it. And Yonder got a really huge write-up in the Rolling Stones and gave it the diamond of the record. So I was very pleased with that. And when I heard it on the jukebox, I was just, wow. Just every time I hear one of my songs, I'm just tickled to death. And it's still amazed to be gifted and have that as one of my gifts. It's quite amazing. I don't know how to explain it. It's like every time if you were to actually walk into your living room and see a pot of gold sitting on your coffee table, it's just one of those feelings. Great surprise. I'm more shocked when I don't get one recorded, or when I get one recorded, than I am when I don't get one recorded. It's a lot of work. We're not as surprised, when someone turns me down. I'm used to that. But when someone actually records it and releases it, the odds are really, really high of getting all that done for everything to fall into place. So I should say I'm very, very thankful for those folks out there who love the music. I did do a little research on something once, and it was because Friends in Low Places was a huge record. I lost count somewhere around 25 million records a while back. But I was like all the people in the world, why only 25 million? Not that I wasn't thankful, because I was. But then looking at it proportionally, I know 0.1 is 1%. 0.1 of 0.1 is so minuscule and directly proportioned to those people who love music and buy music, directly proportional to those who love music and write music. It's pretty interesting.
I've read where different writers, for example, the journalist Chuck Klosterman, wrote about the song. A lot of people have actually analyzed Friends in Low Places. But I would be curious to know, from your perspective, why do you think so many people identify with that song?
Well, I think all of us get a case of the, I don't know how to word this. I think that is a situation where either someone like to tell someone, forget about you, or lay the law down and say, hey, get on with your life. I've got friends. And my friends are a rowdy bunch, and we're all going to drink and enjoy ourselves. As opposed to someone who's trying to live the good life and trying to walk the straight and narrow all the time. There are a bunch of people who just feel footloose and fancy free, and that song's one of those. It's got a hint of freedom to it.
Definitely. Who would you say taught you the most about songwriting?
Well, I've had a number of tutors. A couple of them you probably wouldn't even know, but you might know their song. Hank Beach gave me metered syllable. Hank wrote, Journey to the End of My World, and as an older writer, You Lay a Whole Lot of Love on Me. I think Shania Twain and Tom Jones and Con Hunley recorded that. He gave me quite a bit. Master Clements, the world-renowned fiddle virtuoso, he also gave me quite a bit to spend some time with me. Mickey Newberry spent a lot of time with me. He wrote a lot of big hits. Just dropped in to see what condition my condition is in. And San Francisco Maple Syrup, just a ton of songs. We became good friends. Roger Miller gave me some poems. Dwayne Blackwell, I would probably have to say Dwayne Blackwell. I'm Mr. Blues. Throw your arms on this honky tonk man. Make my day. I'm going to hire a wino. He and I wrote together for a number of years, and I had to conform to his formulas. And through that, I think that really rounded me off to the place where Dwayne and I didn't really have the need to write with each other. Not that he ever needed to write with anyone, because he wrote a lot by himself. But he took a liking to me, and we wrote a few songs together over the years, and he was a big influence.
For the listeners out there, Dwayne Blackwell is the man that you co-wrote Friends in Low Places with. I'm curious about how you met him and what your first impression of him was.
I met him in the parking lot of our church, and my first impression was like, well, we've got a new friend that moved in from California and wants to stay in touch, so he did. And I took him around and introduced him to everyone I knew here in Nashville. I think that's how he met Bob Doyle. I introduced him to Bob, and Bob in turn brought Garth over and introduced Garth to us. And then Dwayne called and got Garth to sing the demo for Friends in Low Places. He'd sang a number of demos for us, and he had recorded a number of Dwayne songs, but didn't record any of mine. And Dwayne, we were playing hooky from church, and we went to, I guess it was one of these chain restaurants that served champagne brunch. And we went there and started drinking champagne, and we were chicken tenders and trying to outdo each other on who could make the best hot sauce concoction for the chicken tenders. And I think it was about a bottle in of champagne. I wrote on a bar napkin, blamed it all on my reach. I showed up in boots and ruined your black tie affair. And we just passed that thing back and forth until the song was lyrically complete. And then we went over to the Americana where he was living. We put it down, picked up a guitar, and the melody was there. And we put that down, and then we called Garth, and Garth came in and sang the demo for us. And, it just got bigger and bigger from there.
What is Dwayne Blackwell like?
He's a jolly, this is kind of a strange way of putting it, but he's a jolly curmudgeon. He's like a W.C. Fields. Very intelligent, very sharp, very witty, very business. Calls a spade, straight shooter. And he was certainly a big influence on my life.
And what about Garth Brooks? When you first met him, what were your thoughts? Was there any inkling that he would be this incredible star?
Oh, well, he came to, when we were at Motown, he and his wife at the time, Sandy, came over to the office, and he came into my office, and he sat down and played a few songs. I thought he was a very polite, quiet, soft-spoken young man who was, trying his level best to get something going. I think he was working for the Boot Barn. I'm not sure if that was the one, but he was selling boots. And he was a custodian at the local church out where he lived, so he was cleaning, he was doing everything he could just to stay here and get it done. Time passed, and he ended up, singing demos for me and singing demos for a lot of people in town. And I think when he recorded a song of mine, If There's Anything Wrong With Her, It's Me. And that was the first time I actually saw him explain a song, and with full expression. From the control room, I could see into the vocal booth, and I could see his facial expressions change as he was singing, and that was when I realized that this kid's going to do it.
Wow. Tell me, do you ever envision making an album of yourself, an Earl Bud Lee album?
Well, there's been a lot of talk about it. I almost did it last year, but I was talked into letting our songwriter artist take that spot and do a real good job on him. And Yeah, I've got some folks interested in doing a master series on me, and I look forward to doing something like that. You know, sometimes we want something to happen and want it to happen now. I'm looking back, I'm happy that I didn't go in and do the record then, because I've written some more since then, and and I've gone into the past and dug up some songs that I had thought might work for this record, and in fact they do. So I've got a little plan going right now as far as what's going to make it on the record.
Do you think that there are any misconceptions about you? Any misconceptions about Earl Bud Lee?
Well, if I spent my time worrying about that, I would be shooting myself in the foot, wouldn't I?
That's true.
There's a lot. There's going to be always. There's going to be in our business. There's going to be people who are going to be standoffish. As the progression goes along, after you're writing, you know, if you have a number of number one hits, then there's going to be some jealousy that comes up with those who were right along with but never did get that hit. And they seem to fall back further, and we keep going forward. And then the folks who want to write with me have, well, I'll tell you, it was Roger Cook. Roger Cook wrote Long Cool Woman in a Black Dress. Or Here Comes That Rainy Day Feeling Again. If I Could Teach the World to Sing, all the way up to I Want to Dance With You. Had a hit on the Strait. Don Williams, I Believe in Love. So many big world pop hits. And he became my partner for a long, long while. We wrote, and Roger was always very encouraging. And he and I still stay up with each other. We still write together. That was on a good note. Now then, on another note, there are some people who get jealous of me spending time with Roger, and there are people who get jealous of Roger spending time with me. And it just seems to be, well, I don't know how to explain it. There's always going to be someone who is gunning for that one position. And there's a certain attitude that goes with them. There's a bunch of young gunslingers out there right now who would just love and believe in their heart that they will. And they probably will make it. But I really don't have a whole lot of time to co-write anymore. And I really enjoy writing by my, picking up an idea and a title that I know is a hit worthy and writing it myself.
Well, how do you view Nashville?
Oh, well, Nashville is it's where, to me, that's where the music is. I mean, we have the biggest fools on the planet move here, and the most brilliant people on the planet move here, and after a few cocktails, it's hard to tell who the most brilliant and the biggest fool is. It's just a great place to, a lot of camaraderie, a lot of respect after 39 years. I mean, we all have stories. And I guess a lot of folks who take credit for raising me, and another bunch of folks who in the beginning didn't really support me would say that they always knew I was going to make it. And the landscape has changed around. The beauty of this place is I can walk to any of the labels. Everything's close. It's a real strong songwriting community. The business side of things gets a little hairy every now and then, but as far as the writing of the songs and the love of music, there's a bunch of us out there, and we're enjoying, this part of my life. I have the freedom that I haven't had before to do things for others that I've always wanted to do, and to get involved in some causes. And we've got plenty of those, plenty of them out there. Wounded warriors. Of course, I always support the veterans. And St. Jude's, always support the children. And sometimes I'll save a little bit for me and go out to dinner with my wife and enjoy an evening with someone who really loves me.
Tell me a little bit about how you met your wife.
Well, she owned a label in Kentucky, Label X. And they had a few artists signed to that. And her business partner lived across the street from me. And her business partner's husband and I, James House, he wrote Broken Wing, I Ain't That Lonely Yet. He was an artist for a long while. I suppose still is. And he and I were writing, so I would show up in that living room every other day. And one day I went in there, and my wife was standing there in the foyer, and we just looked at each other for, it seemed like forever. And I walked by her and went out back and smoked a cigarette. She told me she went out on the front porch and sat on a rocker and was like, oh my God. And we both had pretty much the same feeling. And I ran off to Beverly Hills, and I eventually did come back, and we've been together ever since.
What makes you all a good match?
Makes us a good match?
Yeah.
Well, she's intelligent. She's beautiful. She has love and family, which is really big. She loves animals and she loves children. And she's more of a psychologist. I'm more of a case study. So we actually get out and we walk. There's a lake here called Radnor Lake, and we try to walk that every day and set our heads straight. Be thankful for what we have. Thankful for this wonderful life that we both love music. We both understand it. We argue like cats and dogs over some things, and in the long term, though, those are just a matter of taste. They're just some things that are subjective, and they don't last long. It's one of those. If we fell in love, automatic. And as I got to know her, I was always saying, I've never found love in a bar, and I've never found love at church. But I found love in my partner's living room for sure. Some good old girls in there. We met each other organically like that. Then we worked together, and she eventually moved to Nashville, and we've been together for, almost 15 years now.
Almost every single article that mentions you mentions her as well.
Well, good.
Well, speaking of the word well, I wanted to ask you about your well of inspiration. What would you say the greatest well of your inspiration is? How do you fill that up?
Well, one is living. Getting into as much as I can get into. I always have been. I had my first job. I was 8 years old, making 10 cents an hour cleaning up a junk job. The work ethic's always been there. And of course, I got on more jobs and met more people. I'm a people person. And through all of those years, I was just always attracted to new ideas, bohemian type, people who really have a different way of looking at things. I needed to know for myself how things work, and I got out in the world, and I always do go back to nature, which, is one of those calming effects on a restless spirit, and it really grounds me. And the idea of reading, I started reading at an early age. My grandfather was a history teacher, and my grandmother was a math teacher, and they had a big library, and I started reading really early, and, getting into that fantasy world. Last of the Mohicans, I think, was a book that I was reading in the second grade. And from there, it has always been about keeping that well full. I mean, you can live, you can go, and then you're gassing and you're on empty. And then that's time to take a break from the whole thing. And I think Roger Miller put it the best. Sometimes you just have to turn around and look out the window. And reading, like I said earlier on, it's a lot of reading. I try not to read fiction because I have enough of that going on in my life without pursuing it. It's like pursuing Trivial Pursuit. I think as much knowledge as I can put in and things make sense, I just finished a book on astrophysics for People in a Hurry by Tyson. It's a wonderful book and highly recommend anyone who wants to see how the whole thing ticks, read it. Wonderful book. It will fill the well up and then some.
A lot of songwriters, they have their songs that everybody knows, but then they maybe have a song that they think this one really should have caught on. Somebody should have cut it, or it was cut, it should have gotten more attention. What would that song be for you?
Well, that'd be a tough one. I've got a lot of them that haven't been recorded, but going along with that, there's a lot of them that haven't been recorded because no one's ever heard them. I hadn't played them for anyone. I guess there was, one single back in the day when Karen Comes Around was the title, and it was a disappointment because it went into the 40s, and then one of the label artists was complaining because the actor was getting all the attention. So I got that one and went on supporting her. That was one way it can be done. Another one was T.G. Shepherd recorded a song, and it was going to be on Friday. It was going to be released on Monday, and Monday rolled around and they canned the entire project, and he moved to a different producer. So it was like a song called Let's Do It Again, and that one I really, really feel bad about because the Dirt Band, Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, they found me at a place called the Tavern on the Row and told me that they were recording my song and it was up next after the lunch break. And I told them, I've given it to T.G. Shepherd. Well, they were thankful. Thank you so much. We didn't record it, and they didn't. Glenn Campbell didn't get to record it, and the Dirt Band didn't get to record it. T.G. Shepherd did record it, but it didn't get released. So Let's Do It Again was the title of it.
And on the other side of the coin, who has done the best job of interpreting an Earl Bud Lee song?
Well, you're asking me who my favorite singer who's recorded. Are you saying someone who's recorded one of my songs, or?
When you look at the different recordings that have been made, which one would you say, wow, this artist or this band, they really got it. This is a good interpretation of this song that I wrote.
Well, I'll tell you what, I would have to say Garth Brooks. Because Garth came in and sang the demo. Bear in mind, the song is different. I write so many different types of music. But Garth came in and sang the demo. We only had a trio. We had Steve Turner, who was drummer at Midnight Special and drummed steel for Dolly Parton. Larry Paxton, who did Monster Mash and played bass for a lot of big records. Oh, and John Beelan, who was one of the Stone Ponies, led the Ronstadt band, and then ended up being one of the Flying Burrito Brothers. And we had those folks in the studio, and Garth, of course, singing it. So it was a trio, and Garth singing. And so when Garth took it in, he didn't take the demo into his producer, Alan Reynolds. He went in and played the guitar, and he said, "This is the way we're going to do it." So comparing what I did in the studio, how Garth did it in the studio, compared to the big live shebang that he put on the thing, I'd have to say that was really a surprise. I remember I was driving by the post office out in Mount Juliet, headed over to an award show, and friends came on, and you'd ask me, what does it feel like? And I had to pull into the post office parking lot and just soak it up. It was wonderful.
Well, what is the best thing about this existence as Earl Bud Lee? What is the best thing about being you?
Love. Lots and lots of love. I love a lot. It's really, and being respected, having so many friends, just hanging in there talking to my friends. I call my friends. I have folks I love so much I don't get to see every day, and I stay in touch with folks. But the best thing about being me is me. I just love life.
What's coming up on the horizon for Earl Bud Lee?
Well, immediately, I've got some shows that I'm going to do that I'm looking forward to doing. And I'd love to tell you who they are. They're huge. But I don't really talk about those things until I've got the contracts in hand and it's all done like that. I've got a Tin Pan Alley group together. We're going to play here on April 3rd, I believe, in Nashville. And I've got a bunch of things going on. I have so many. My plate is almost full. I looked at this definition of responsible. And the definition of responsible is the ability to respond. So I am just about at that place where I'm actually cleaning the plate now. I want to finish everything that's on there and then get back to my everyday of writing and traveling.
Well, as we close here, I want to give you the stage, give you the microphone. We just never know who's listening in this day. What would you say to anyone who's listening in?
Any particular
Totally
subject?
open-ended. Totally open-ended.
Rule number 1, it's not my plan. Rule number 2, patience. Rule number 3, keep the faith. Rule number 4, good always wins. And maybe not in my lifetime, but as long as my intentions are good and I'm projecting that good positive energy, good always eventually wins and does even better than I could have dreamed.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Well, I have to say thank you, sir. You're a very interesting character. I appreciate those questions, and I hope your listeners enjoyed this.
I know they will, and I have one more question.
All right.
How would you define Earl Bud Lee? Who is Earl Bud Lee?
Well, I would probably have to say it's not a matter of who he is, it's a matter of what. And I am one loyal, energetic, happy person. Pretty simple. You know, I keep things as simple. I mean, not really complex. Very complex. I love to think that I'm a great writer, though, and that's all I ever wanted to be.
Well, thank you very much for the songs.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for spending time with us.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate the time I spend. Please stay in touch.
Absolutely. Until next time.
Until next time, happy trails.
Happy trails to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.